This morning we had PPI, and then yesterday we had a hot CPI reading. Now, a lot of people think that this can mark maybe a short-term top on the stock market. I'm here to tell you there's a few equities and there's a few big things happening this coming week that could change everything. We also have earnings coming into play as well. So tech earnings season, and then today a pretty decent PPI reading, and then what the Fed said regarding the data that's already come in. That's what we have to attack today, and hopefully we can get a little bit of an edge going into next week. Let's get to work. Number one, before we go into anything, I have to ask you to like and subscribe, do what you got to do. But also, the newsletter is down below. This is 100% free for all of you. This is this past week's newsletter. It has all the key levels, what we were looking at, where we rejected, what we expected on everything, indexes, everything in between. But maybe the best part was right here on Tesla. Now, we were bearish on Tesla, and we actually told everyone what we were looking at here. The 200 daily simple moving average, right? On the decline from 232 to the 200 daily moving average, which is where we ended up moving down very, very quickly. This is pretty wild stuff. You really, get to the root of what was happening here, right? We go to Tesla, you look how we started trading, and look at that. You go from 232, you break down even further towards a 200 weekly moving average, which is basically where you ended here at the end of the week. So again, the newsletter link is down below, or you can go to our website, hover over, go to newsletter, and get signed up there as well. Either one will do. Okay. Back to work, ladies and gentlemen, right? There's a few things we need to discuss here. Okay, let's go to Nasdaq. Number one, okay? Let's look at the weekly chart here. You almost made an engulfing bullish candle on the Nasdaq weekly. Absolutely incredible. All those that downside bought right back up. And this has kind of been the story, in my opinion, on buyers versus sellers. The sellers get some good pressure and then they die out, and then buyers just push you back up. Now, there's a little bit more to this, and you're not confirmed to be pressing up. I think the level that you're watching for confirmation to the upside is 17K. If you can start to mount this level, that's very bullish, and I think you push into highs. Simple enough. I think QQQ gets back into all-time highs. Okay? Right. ES, you're moving good. You're doing what you want to do here, right? You need to mount this level right here, though. Basically, 48, 42. That's where we got to get above. We got rejected roughly at 48.40, 48.38, but you still look good. Higher lows across the board here on the 4-hour, 2-hour, and daily. Those are good notes there. Okay. Also, too, if you're interested in what's happening with all of our charts and all of our key levels here, and then as well as our scalping indicator down here for volume buyers versus sellers, that link is down below. It's Chart Prime. They work with us to make all of our scripts and everything that's going into this. So again, check them out if you are interested. So again, that's another thing to visualize here is what's taking place. So again, across the board, really good outing from buyers. And I would say that yesterday could have sparked a lot of selling. But again, great recovery, especially with the good numbers that we got here from PPI. Look at this week. I think it's important to understand my viewpoint here. I'm cautious still. I'm looking at the market. I like how we broke out on a few names. Microsoft, NVIDIA, primarily two of the strongest names of the market. I would say Microsoft ended the week the strongest. Very strong daily close. We'll go into that here in a second. Okay. But there's something we have to look at. It was, a little bit of OPEX day. We had a lot of options expiring in a good position on some of these semiconductor names that held them up. NVIDIA being the primary one. You have a monthly expiration next week as well, and it's a 3-day weekend. Okay. So when we look at all this, I go into the week a little bit glass half full, right? A little bit cautious, right? And I've been pretty bullish here. I have been. But when we talk about this next segment, going about the dollar and yields, there are some areas of concern, to say the least. Now, again, there's a lot of names. I'm still long on a few names. I still am. But I'm not going to be blind, or at least have blind faith that we're just going to continue to run and run and run. That'd be greedy of me. That'd be foolish, right? So, again, I am a little bit cautious, but also, too, a little bit optimistic, right? I'm a little bit more pessimistic than I've been lately, but again, let's talk about that. Now, the dollar has basically traded in this range for the past 2 weeks, give or take, okay? Since the beginning of the year. You broke up, you got into this range around 102.65, 102.2, and we've ranged back and forth, as you can see here, ping pong back and forth. Okay. The level you want to hold below, I told Discord this morning as well, is 102.2. Also, too, I want to let you guys know, again, a lot of like big surprises. In the newsletter this week, probably on Sunday evening to Monday morning, there will be a few spots available on Discord. So make sure if you're interested, you check them out. They've been sold out for a while now. Anyways, so DXY, you're in that little bit of a range back and forth, okay? You had some downs this morning, but you just bounced right back. So again, there's no confirmation there. The 30-year yield, which I think is probably one of the best indicators here, we sat up most of the day around 4.2 right at the 200 SMA. Got rejected, but we're still trading very similar to the dollar, right? You can identify that these are the same. It's the very similar charts. You're just range bound here, right? Okay. Now, again, the most bullish thing that could happen is a break below 4%. If the US 30-year yield, and I want everyone to know this, because when it happens, you're going to see me going crazy here on the channel. But if the US 30-year yield can get below 4%, I will be the biggest bull on the stock market, Bitcoin, everything when that happens. Okay, the housing market, everything. Okay, that's what you really want to happen. And we're a little bit ways. We almost had it, but we bounced back up. Now, on the contrary, if you get back above the 200 SMA 4.2 here, I get pessimistic. Now, it's not in the long run, but I just have to recognize that it's not the best move. It could lead to consolidation, potentially downside, and just a worse trading environment. For instance, when we had this push down from essentially the beginning of November till the mid-December, it was very easy trading. Go rewatch all the videos. We had monster trades, a lot of swings. It was comfortable, easy to trade. When we get upside, you go back here from basically July into October. A lot of chop, consolidation. You had the giant bull flag on Nasdaq. So again, all things considered, you're still clearly in the downtrend here. You want to see the rejection. You want to see below 4%. That's the best case scenario. But if you get above the 200 SMA, not a fan. Will probably cause some consolidation and maybe some downside in the short term. Okay, we understand that. Now also too, the Twitter link is down below, so I recommend you check this out so you can see all the things that we're going over here with the DXY, what I'm looking at there. What Boeing, I called this out for you for free yesterday as well. Boeing, I said 215 was coming. Where did Boeing end today? Again, all the way down at 217, roughly about to be at 215, probably Tuesday morning. So going into this week, I'm going to go over equities next. So again, I want that to be clear. But I want to make sure people understand where I'm coming from the side of the yields and the dollar. I am in no way ignoring them. Right? I've had some good trades. We had, Boeing downside. I mentioned that yesterday. I mentioned the upside on Microsoft yesterday as well. It was my favorite trades. Mentioned Tesla downside as well. But you kind of have to be able to adjust, to pivot, to recognize what's happening out there in the market. And I am recognizing that. And so my trading is definitely slowing down here. Okay. Cause you're hitting the rubber's meeting the road. You're hitting a level that you got to get through, or we got to see what happens here. Because again, the 30-year starts to reject and push down. The dollar starts to reject. We're sitting coast is clear. Tech earnings could really catapult us into new highs. But the same goes on the other side of it. If we start to go above and tech earnings don't go as good, we could get another pullback. Not the best behavior. Now, what I will say is that in my opinion, from the start of the month till now, I think this week, like we anticipated, January 8th, was when you'd see buyers step back in the market, which they did. But what I will say is I think hedge funds started to position themselves again. And I think that was clear, right, with some of the buying that we had, right? I think hedge funds saw in 2022, some of them weren't in the game yet. Some of them were being, conservative. They didn't want another 2020 situation. They didn't want, the COVID situation. They were afraid. They didn't want the whole Russia thing to happen, right? With what happened with Iran now. And so I think that they were passive last year. And I think this year you're seeing investors be a lot more aggressive already. They're like, we're not going to miss this again. AI, the projections came out. $25 billion in 2023. We anticipate $250 billion by 2025, right? We want to be in that game. And so I think that's one thing of what you're seeing. So I think all the momentum is ready for the bull case to continue to run and run and run. I really do believe that. You're at the point of price discovery on the Nasdaq now. So when that happens, if NVIDIA, if AVGO, if LRCX run another 10%, 15, 20% when they get into price discovery, what do we really think is going to happen with the Nasdaq and SPY? We've gone over the statistics here, but when you get into all-time high territory on indexes, typically good things happen, right? So that's where we have to be able to understand and kind of understand at least the metrics of what are at stake over the next 2 or 3 weeks. It's a weekend video. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I'll get you out of here, right? Number one, Microsoft. I mean, honestly, like, it's kind of crazy. Like, I go back and I look at this and I'm just like, dude, like, I thought we were trading in 377 and 366 for it seemed like a year, right? You're broken out. You're mounted above your previous highs for 384. We mentioned this in yesterday's video. If you go to the 15-minute, you can also see what happened here. I mean, absolutely beautiful. You had that nice bull flag right here on top of that resistance. I mean, dude, look at that. Picture perfect, right? I like Microsoft in the next week. Unless we see a big sell-off on the indexes or shorting happen or bad news, I think Microsoft continues to rip again. $400 is the target there. NVIDIA, I still like NVIDIA, but I think you're just consolidating up here. I'm going to tell you that right now. Go back to NVIDIA, sorry. I'm not interested until you mount above 551 or let's just get a pullback to like 525. That's all I'm watching there. Nothing else to really talk about. Boeing, for all of you guys that are still short, I think the best trade right now, like I mentioned yesterday, was long Microsoft, short Boeing, because you can make money both ways. And if the market gets a lot of weakness, Boeing's going to drop quick. Okay, so Boeing right now, the target was a 200 SMA. But I do want to say, if things go bad next week and selling starts to occur quick, right, I do believe Boeing can start falling and falling very quickly. I mean, I do believe you could fill the gap down at 209. I believe you could possibly fill the gap at 197. I 100% believe those are all possibilities. So Boeing can start seeing immediate weakness. So take that into account. Be prepared. And definitely know that, especially under the 200 SMA. If we get below 200 SMA, I'm looking for downside for sure. I'm going to have a lot of steps on Twitter posted for that if that does happen, but I don't want to start jumping the gun there. Tesla, again, I'm going over names that I know you guys are going to ask about. Tesla, you're below 200 SMA. My rule, if you're below 200 SMA, I don't look to go long, typically, unless there's something I know. Tesla, you could really start moving back down to 212. That's be my number one level. And then after, I mean, dude, it gets gross. Our chart prime level is here near 200. I hate Tesla right now. I think it's a terrible stock to be trading. I don't know why you'd want to trade it, but yeah, so 212 is my next big level. So keep an eye on that. But what I will say too, I did mention earlier, is that you're right on top of your 200 SMA on the weekly, right? The only ones I really track are the daily and the weekly. And I just knew where Tesla's was, and you came right down to it and bounced. So interesting spot. Would be watching it, but yeah, you break that, Tesla's gonna have a lot more weakness as well. Okay, next up, Meta. Dude, Meta has been again, it's sleeping giant here, right? So Meta, you're breaking back over local highs. You look very good, and you're wondering, Tyler, what is 385 up there? What is that level? So one, you are bull flagging on top of highs. Let's address that too. Bull flag. Go to the daily. We zoom out further. Yes, that is your all-time high. You are officially 10 points off. I said way back, we break 355, I think you're running to all-time highs, and you're making the run now. Earnings are coming up quick. I do think Meta could do well. I'm a fan here. Meta over 373. I am bullish. I'm looking for continuation. Confirmation of the breakout will be above like 375.5. I think then you'd break highs pretty easily. So that's what I'm looking at there. Apple, I actually am a big fan of Apple. It's just I need more confirmation on indexes, okay? Because I don't think Apple has not had the best room lately or news lately, okay? It's had bad news surrounding it, okay? You have a nice daily gap all the way up here at 192, basically. That's number one. You're holding your key level right here that you've established above like 185.6. That's good news. You have your short-term target is 187.5. Think you can hit that easy, right? All in all, I like what Apple's doing, still strong on it. You're mounted above previous 52-week highs from 2021. I'm happy. I'm happy here, right? Favorite setups, favorite names. That's what I'm watching, guys. Again, I think Amazon's another big. It's just like I go down the list and like there's so many great names, so many good looking charts here. Amazon starts to break over 156. I'm extremely bullish back into highs as well there. Google's doing its thing. Again, I can go on a laundry list. Like I love the way the market's moving. Last one I mentioned that was going to be Netflix. So Netflix, I mentioned at the beginning of this week, the retest of 485 was a clear long. And you're just tracking back below 495 now. So again, I'd be looking for another test of 485 sooner than later. They've had really good news also too about subscriber growth and what's happening with their advertisement tier. And I think their earnings could do very well also. So again, these are my favorite equities. I mentioned them a lot. Top name still Microsoft to the upside, Boeing to the downside. I don't think Microsoft is done, and I don't think Boeing is done. So again, they're both moving very well. Boeing's moving to the downside even while the market traces to the upside. You know, what could be better there? And again, a little bit of a bull trap at the end of the day as well, projecting for previous lows. Perfect chart there.